What's up, everybody? Midjourney Fast Hours Podcast, episode 40.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, wild, right?
I don't even remember when we started this. Was it June or July of last year?
Man, I want to say it was like I think it was like that first week of July.
All right, so right after July 4th? Or
it feels like we've been doing this longer.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It hasn't even been a year. I mean, considering like all the things that we've gone into. 40 episodes of diving into primarily Midjourney.
Hours of stuff.
But like really getting in, I think, to like at a whole, like this just like creative process when it comes to AI and the capabilities, the use cases, the strengths, the weaknesses, the roadmap, the promise. I mean, so it's just like it's been crazy that all that's happened in less than a year. And I think we're in this just like crazy compound effect with AI speed right now. And I think it's only going to get crazier in the next few years. So wild times, dude.
To talk about, and we always have stuff to talk about. That's what's crazy is that we could do this once a week, and we probably don't even have enough time to talk about all the developments that happen. Which is, also for anyone that's been here since episode 1, shout out. You guys are
hell
killer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Come a long way since episode 1.
I'm scared to go back and revisit episode 1 now.
Oh man, that's it wasn't. I listened to it maybe like a couple months ago. I was like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah, I remember too. It wasn't as bad, but
no. But it's still definitely like we've got more of the structure down. We still have to work on some of the things like our interview skills and like figuring out how to make that a little bit smoother. But hey, guys, we're trying.
Hey man, it's like this is our favorite part of the week. Rory and and it feels like you and I have only gotten more and more busy. So I think the fact that we get to catch up and have this sort of like nerd out session is awesome. But I think today, right? Like last time we covered, OmniRef, EXP parameter. We went really deep. We did a lot of experimentation. We showed you guys a lot of visuals. If you haven't seen that episode, highly, highly recommend it. It was probably one of the better ones we've done with visually showcasing kind of the different observations and capabilities that exist with those things. For this particular episode, we were talking just about video. How could we not, right? Like video at large across AI, right? Of course, Midjourney's got a part of this that's coming. We haven't seen anything yet. There is an update there that we'll run through, but at large, I mean, the pace and velocity that we're seeing with update, and then I feel like we got this just crazy level up milestone moment that we just saw with VO3.
Totally. Big time was, and if everyone, you've been following us for a while, we've been a little bit behind on getting episodes out, so that's an apology. Basically from me, because I've been gone for almost a month.
That's on both of us, bro. Come on.
between both, conferences and other things that are going on. But it's like we're back. We're back now, probably for the summer, and we're going to be continuing to do this. But I was away, and I was like, I got rumblings that Google was going to drop this whole new creative suite, and I was like, oh God, please don't do it while I'm away. And, luckily it happened on Tuesday, and Google just, again, pumping out great stuff. Now, that being said, with this new release of what they're calling Flow, essentially like a creative suite, right, where you have access to all their new tools in one place. So you can use VO3, which is the new video model. You have Gemini 2.5, which is, available within, it's actually I don't know if it's within Flow, but there's Imagen 4 now, their updated image model. So their whole goal is to generate, a creative workspace that you can do anything in. And the real kicker and what the big update was is not just the improved quality of the videos, but you can now add dialogue and sound, which is just, again, things you don't think you want and need until it's there, and then you're like, I want that and I need that. But that causes a whole nother set of issues, right?
Yeah.
So
more variables introduced.
Yeah, and even like that from a consistency standpoint, like getting a voice consistent from one video to the next, now that you have to control that, it becomes a little harder. So it's just, again, you're starting to see, I think we're going to have a consolidation moment sooner or later. You're starting to see like Google was behind, right? Like it felt like they were behind last year, and now they're just like pushing ahead.
It kind of felt like Google, what are you actually doing last year?
Yeah.
Like they were so quiet for a long
So
time.
quiet.
To the point where you kind of felt like, Google, I know all this money's coming in, but what's going on over there? Are you guys dying? What's the deal? Because I mean, they had all the SERP, obviously like the SERP disruption with LLMs coming into play, right? Like the way people search and get results for things. I mean, yeah, dude, it's wild. Their pace right now is really picking up.
And like, this is where I don't know, and I'm being candid about this. Like, who can keep up with them? Maybe outside of like the Meta realm or the TikTok realm, because it's just about data. Who has the most data? Google has, basically every image that's listed on Google is categorized into, it's going to be probably filtered into their image data process. I'm guessing they're doing the same thing with YouTube. So YouTube gets like 34 years of content uploaded every day. So again, if you're not familiar and you're on YouTube and you have videos, I think there's a space you can go off to check, like I don't want to be part of video training, but I don't know if how many people are doing that.
Where's that at?
Exactly. It's somewhere in there.
Somewhere buried.
That's, our videos are probably in there for the talking head videos that you can now create with VO3.
Yeah.
But I just don't know who else has that data set other than someone like Meta or TikTok.
Well, I think that was interesting because you alluded to that, I think, before we really even saw VO2 come out. Like I remember you talking about this idea, right, of like who's got more training data than Google, right? Because you've got all the stuff from Google itself, the platform, search engine, images, things like that. Then you've also got YouTube as a whole. I mean,
it's big.
And those are just the bigger pieces of the puzzle, not any sort of like fragmented products or companies that they've acquired or bought or integrated along the way. I mean, so yeah, I thought when you called that out, it was interesting, and I was nodding my head like, yeah, that's totally true. I could totally see that, and now it's really come to fruition here.
Because you got to think about where Midjourney has to source images from, right? Like it's not native on their platform. Like Google's basically sourcing stuff natively from their platform. Again, ChatGPT probably going to be able to do this just based on the scale and size of who they are. I don't know what happened to Microsoft. I guess they just disappeared and like haven't done anything in this game. You're thinking about the big players in the tech space and what they're able to do. But Google, this feels like perfect for them. Now, I will say I do have a gripe with Google because they seem to have like 1 million products and they're all in different places and they all have different names. And something like ChatGPT becomes so much easier because it's like, oh, I can do everything in one window. I know where it is.
100%.
Right? Like that's my one gripe with Google is that there's just so much. I don't even know where
product
it all
overload and the naming and all that. That's such a I notice that all the time as a marketer too. It's funny that you bring that up.
Yeah.
Because you'll even see that in smaller SaaS companies that have more than, let's just call it 2 products, right? It's like after the product that they're known for, right? Like you're going to name 7 other new products. It's almost like, are these just maybe features, or can they be a part of this naming convention for the one product essentially, right? And so there's this like chicken and egg problem of, is this the company or is this the product suite? Should it just be named with the product? Like, because no one else is going to remember every single one of your product names except for the people in your company.
Exactly.
Or maybe the actual buyer, at the finish line, the decision maker who's purchasing, right? Other than that, you've got an uphill battle trying to promote 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 thousands of different products, and people expected to remember those names and recall what they do. Yeah, good luck.
That's what it's like. You go into Google and it's like, where do you generate images? Well, there's Imagen 4 that you can go utilize. There's Gemini 2.5 now, and then there's Whisk. And it's like, why are all 3? It's like the opposite problem of Midjourney, where they have so much in one platform, and then Google is separating each one of these, so it becomes I think they could integrate Whisk into Imagen, and then just it makes it a little bit easier. I just don't know why. And if people aren't familiar with Whisk, it's basically like an ingredients sort of builder. Like you put in a character or a style or whatever, and you blend everything together, right? You can also do that in Gemini just by pasting a couple images in there and saying like blend this stuff. But it's really just,
Is
That's the only thing that
are
irks
they
me.
calling this the AI if that is the case, it's like just call it that.
Yeah, because then there's AI Studio, but then there's also Flow, which is Flow is where all this the VO3 stuff takes place.
And
So-
then it's like, okay, is that part of this? Right? Like again, it's very confusing to your point. But
they need to they're so good at product dev, but then making it easy for everyone. And then I don't know if I have it for personal or for business. This one's a pain in the ass. Is I signed up for Flow with the wrong account. I wanted it for my business account, but it was logged. You know how when you logged in as a certain profile,
Oh, yeah.
and it was my personal
that
Gmail,
pain.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I don't need it for that. I want the extra space. So now I have to
Yep.
go figure out how to switch my account to whatever, because I paid. Just so everyone's aware, I paid the stupid $124 a month because I had to see what was going on here. And granted, the other thing we should say about VO3 and Flow is that it's expensive as hell, and you don't get that much. So, I think it's 83 generations you'll run out of your monthly credits. So you got to use it judiciously in terms of I'm only using this for when I'm dialed. It's not a playground like Midjourney is, where you can go and just
you're not starting from zero here. You're probably have already got a few of these raw materials or ideas conceptualized in some way.
Yeah.
What do you have you seen what happens after you run out? Can you top up? Can you
You can.
what does that cost?
There's additional credits. Let me see if I can pull it up so I can show everyone the pricing here, just so we're all transparent about it.
Well, I think they've got a deal right now because I was just looking at it yesterday. It's like $125 for the first 3 months or something like that.
Yes, and then it's I think $250.
Double. I think it's I was gonna say I think it's double that. After.
It is, because then I'll go into where I'm almost out of credits. Let's see. If
It's a big expense item. I mean,
100%.
Because when you're thinking about this, unless your company or agency is paying for it, if you're a solo person, this is probably one of the more expensive this is probably your most expensive subscription you've got.
Yeah, and they did. They were nice, and they threw in YouTube Premium for everyone. So you could your $6 a month there, or $12 a month, whatever it is. But here is the inner workings of it. So, the one thing that I found is that you can, you see how many credits you have. I started with 13,000, and I'm down to just basically the end already.
So what does an average run credit wise take? Do you think?
I believe it's 150 per generation,
And I think it's 12.5 in terms of 12,500 credits. I think you get with that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so you have the options for the 3 models here. If anyone is going to use this and wants to play with it, my best suggestion is to start with either VO2 quality or their quality model. Oh, sorry, their quality model, which is it's a slower, higher quality model, but it's so much cheaper in regards to credit usage. And then figure out if the aesthetic or prompt works first, and then bring it into
Great
VO3.
call, right? Yeah.
Just to save some credits, because you can burn through this, but also you can add credits.
How have you made any quick observations on the coherence with 2 versus 3? I mean, I'm guessing it's probably not that different then in that sense.
It's definitely better,
or it does feel different, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, it's a little less. Let's put it this way. Because there's so many additional features, you kind of miss on some of the stuff that VO2 did, which was more extreme motion and does it very well. But with that being said, the quality is better. The quality of the output is better. This one, you can see my screen on Twitter here.
Yep.
All right, so this prompt, low angle selfie footage of a fat man running and laughing simultaneously, nails that. His laugh mixed with gasps for air. I don't know if I can play this, if anyone can hear it. Can you hear this?
No, because I think you got the AirPods in, so it's not going to give me the volume.
Fair enough. Regardless, it nails this laugh mixed with gasp for air. He has red hair, a mustache, a green sweatband, so we get all that. Nestled next to his receding hairline, so we have the receding hairline with his unkempt curly hair. The camera shakes as he runs, with vigilance, and his laughter makes the scene like comical and light, right? So this is a simple example, nothing mind-blowing here, but it listens, right?
Yep.
It listens.
I mean, even with the Imagen stuff that I played with in the past, the coherence was fantastic. I mean, it was really dialed in to the point where it's like, that's what I also can appreciate about Midjourney in that sense of like, I like that it has coherence, but it also, we've talked about this so many times, but leaves room for that creative magic to take place. Imagen feels like it's much more just precise coherence, literal coherence, I think is what I'm sort of trying to say.
100%. And then there's some physics stuff. Like I had this guy spraying kerosene on a grill and saying,
Damn,
baby.
I haven't even seen these, brother.
But this stuff was pretty, I was impressed with some of that. Like that physics is pretty good. This one I had a little, I don't know if you're tuned into the Side Talk NYC for that it's just like these crazy videos in New York after the Knicks play. It's just like, the Bing Bong. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but they just like interview on the street. They say people say crazy stuff and the crowd just erupts into chaos. I'll share the account with you after if anyone's interested.
Yeah, there you go.
But like this one I was impressed with, like the camera motion, the way that he opens the door.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like just the way that it follows him, the way that, typically that would be really hard shot for this to produce. Something like this with all this stuff going on in the foreground, being able to preserve the mid-ground detail, the way that the water's moving from a physics standpoint, the way the truck is bouncing. Really
it's like almost like right with a lot of these video models at first, you would get like one or two variables that would kind of like give it a little bit of a realism sparkle. You could see it, but it lacked punch because there were other variables that were either static or not rendering correctly. Whereas this is like really stacking on variables, right? Like the camera shifting, bouncing, the tusks going up and down, the proportion of the leg, the walk is clean, right? Which for a long time was such a problem.
So
then
weird.
You've got the person on top, right? Bouncing around, the feathers bouncing. Like there's just so many different things that have to be in tune and sync there. Yeah.
Like the trunk, like, moving,
the splashes,
it's impressive, man. Like this one again too, same thing. To the prompt coherence, I was really impressed. Right, like just camera pushes in on a man sitting at a New York City diner table at midnight. Midnight might not be appropriate there, but his arms are folded, his head is down, resting on his arms. Suddenly, a hand holding a plate filled with a patty melt and a massive portion of fries, enters the scene and slides the plate on the table in front of him. He raises his head to show an extremely tired look with bags under his bloodshot eyes. Long night of partying, right? Like this, it's just listening to everything I'm doing. I'm saying, right? Like, and it doesn't. The thing here that I'm liking is that I don't have to go so deep into aesthetic to get this look. You know what I mean? I don't have to do like 35 millimeter soft blur in the background, like contrasting colors, like leading lines with this stuff. Like I don't have to describe all that. Like it's already.
So I'm saying, man, I think we went through a real OG era of analog like AI, right? With the level of context and things that we had to, really apply there, especially after that first wave. And I'm thinking like with this in terms of Midjourney. Remember, like, when you got early on with, I don't know, V3 or whatever, V4, like you probably weren't getting exactly what you wanted precisely anyway. So it was a lot more of like, let me throw in these creative tokens and, buckets to kind of get something unique that has a loose interpretation of what I've got. And then it went to, right, when it got to like 5, it was us really dialing in these, okay, think about this from like maybe even a photographer's standpoint of realism. If you're going to go for that, right, you need to be thinking about camera angles, maybe even throwing in a camera and lens, an aperture if you want, shutter speed's an option, lighting, shadows, textures, right? Like all that. And now, right, like that language is sort of like coming back to this state of it gets it. It gets it. And right, like there are a couple different ways to leverage that, right? Like you could still throw some of these things into a GPT if you need some help crafting prompts and stuff like that. But the point is I think like the analog era of kind of like tapping into each thing and really having to think hard and deeply about it and revisit notes and things it's probably over, right?
Yeah, and that's what's interesting here, right? Is there's so much variation in between each platform and what's utilized. Like I have a totally different way of prompting VO2 or VO3 than I have prompting Kling 2.0, right? Like it's totally, I know how Kling works. Kling has been fairly consistent from model to model in terms of what works and what doesn't. It feels like, Midjourney switched with their models in terms of what works, what doesn't. Like each new version, you kind of need to prompt it a little bit differently. So
Yeah.
for Kling, I'll give them their roses on that. It's been a seamless sort of transition, each one of them, and I really like it for that. Now, the other thing to note here, which is cool, because I was able to. This was something I was trying to do for a really long time. Was these like longer one-shot takes where you just have like one single character and you're following them for 40 50 seconds. I've been trying to do this for a while without having like the sort of image or like the scene breaks where it sort of like stops and then jumps again, without having to do a ton of editing. So something like this I was like really impressed with, that I was able to just take that first shot and then extend, and then I have him walking through an entire environment here. When he goes from a party to a dressing room,
Sick.
then to backstage, and then he'll eventually come out on stage in front of the audience. But being able to do this now, you can do this is again the X factor I think here, outside of like the quality and the sound, is that you can now do this within they have what's called a scene builder. So when you're in here, let's just say I like this, you can go add to scene, and then you get a timeline. And then you can, from here, you can click and go extend. So I can just extend this clip and keep it going, right? And when you hit extend, it's just like you type your prompt and extend the clip as long
How's
as you
how's the consistency quality of that?
It's good as of right now, though. I want to make sure that I'm.
Are you having to prompt on top of it in addition to extend to get a little bit better results, or do you kind of let it drive?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I've been prompting to sort of get better results, but as of yesterday, and I don't know because I haven't run this again, but you could only extend with VO2. So let me see if I just run this.
Interesting.
This shot continues. I'm just going to.
Does that affect quality in any way? VO3 to VO2.
Right here. So switching you to a compatible model for this feature. So you can't extend. So this is like where the downfall is. Like this first video that I did had sound, right? So now when I extend, it turns into VO2. So I'll have to use VO2 to continue to extend it, right? Which is either fast or quality. And you'll get a drop off in the quality of the video, and you won't get any more sound.
Okay, so you do notice the quality drop off?
Correct. Yes. It's definitely fuzzier. It's less sharp. The colors are a little bit more. I found VO always has like this wants to be blue. It wants blue.
Hey, Rory, what about lengths of these videos right now for VO3? Right, so okay, you've generated a clip. It's got sound.
8 seconds.
You probably at this point, I mean, unless you had to, right? Don't want to take it into another tool to manually add sound and manipulate it. It doesn't make a lot of sense right now. How long are these clips?
So they're 8 seconds each, but you can then can also just generate a new scene in VO3. So you could also do that. You don't have to use this first frame, right? We can use high quality here, and you could just generate like a totally different clip, but you'd have to text prompt it to make it look considerable. So that's the other thing to know, is that when I go to
no kind of like style reference for color matching or aesthetic in that regard, or
no. So the other thing here is when you go to when you have your drop down, you have text to video, which is basically is VO3 at the moment. Right now, it sounds like you can do, apparently as of like 10 minutes ago, I just saw on my WhatsApp that you can now do image to video. So you have first frame, last frame. Within here.
Does Google allow you to take outside images, or does it have to be Google generated?
Let's see. I don't know if it.
That's what I'm curious about.
I don't even know what this image is, but we'll see. All right, cool. Let's see. Crop and save.
Okay.
Let's see if it can do it. Yesterday it wasn't allowing that.
Oh.
So it is.
Okay.
Which is awesome.
So you could take third-party images in here for that frame to video.
You can also add an end frame here. The other thing that's nice is that we have camera control, so you can just, basically you don't have to describe this in the prompt. You have all of your, basic camera controls here as well. Now, the interesting piece is this gets a little bit deeper, so you can go ingredients to video. So similar to Kling's ingredients, where I could add, that
Objects, scenes,
I
kind of
add
thing.
different people or different objects, right? I don't know what the filters are in terms of like I could add this guy, right? So I can have a consistent character now.
How does it know whether to? Do you have to explicitly call out that you want that guy versus it maybe interpreting that scene as an ingredient? Does that make sense? Like,
I haven't tried it yet because yesterday it wasn't available with VO3, and I'm just like, I know how VO2 works. Like, it's fine. It does work. It does place the character into the scene fairly well. So the other thing too to know is like when you're in here, right? Like you have the ingredients, and then you also can use ingredients if it styles like that. Okay, got it. So there's also if you want to add an ingredient, right? It'll give you these options: generate image, upload, or use something that's previously utilized. You can also generate, and then you can go use Imagen 4 to get this. Like just character, 1980s movie character, like 1980s movie character, right? Like you can just generate here and then use this as a frame. So you can use Imagen straight in here to generate frames as well, which I found to be useful. Imagen, I've 4, like I'm not overly sold on it. I thought 3 was really good. I think there's it still has a look to it now.
yeah,
But, like this guy could totally use that and just start from there, right? And anything you want to do with these people, you just basically add this as the frame, use this image, and then there's your frame, and you can start from there, right? So that's one way to use frames. The other way is if you want to go into this video, right? Like let's just remove this from scene. Oops. Let's add to scene. You can be like, all right, I want to start my next video from here, or I want to extract like a frame like this. Like maybe I want to extract this frame.
Yeah.
You can just hit save frame as asset.
Oh, sick. Love that.
Yeah, which is super nice.
That's such an underrated thing, right? Because how long have we been dealing with the fact that if you want a certain frame of any video, that you basically just have to pause it and screenshot it, and then probably lose a little bit of quality in the process.
Yeah, because you can also drag. Like you can drag to sort of like edit
love that.
the timeline. Like I said, you can once you start to add things here, you can arrange. Like I can flip the scene and put something in front or behind or get rid of it if I want to. And then the other good thing is you can basically edit within here, or you can export within here. So once you have if I go to another one where I might have like a full scene built, let me see if I have one here that's relatively. I don't know if I have one in here with multiple that I started, but it's all right. Let's see. No. Yes. No. Okay. Regardless, you can download the entire thing. So you can just once you add all these scenes in here, right? You can go and just hit download. It'll download your entire clip. So you have that functionality as well, which is great to have, the fully edited thing in here. And again, you can trim it up and basically edit it how you want. The other thing that I shall mention last is that the one native feature that is great is when you hit download, you have the ability to turn it into a GIF, original 720, or you can upscale it to 1080. So you have that ability in here as
Upscale cost you additional credits or no?
I did it once, and I honestly don't know if it cost me extra credits or not.
It wasn't like an obvious thing. like where
it didn't say it.
Like it doesn't say it now, which
Yeah.
I know like Runway will, right? Like on the video, it's like upscale of 4K. It'll tell you how many creds it'll cost.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of stuff going on here. You can see how this is sort of like they're trying to take that Sora model. Now, they don't have the things like Sora has, like remix and blend and, you know, the timeline features in terms of a little bit extra additional things, but Sora's way less coherent than that video is. So I'm just, like I said, I'm just impressed with this as a concept for being able to stay in tool here and not have to jump back and forth a million times.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's where I'm seeing the best sort of, what's the best way to put it? Like the best sort of like concepting for a tool yet from a video standpoint. That's me though. You know, I think Runway does a great job. I think Kling does a great job. But there are also, you know, we're at the beckon of this. I say this all the time, like
The beckon.
yeah, because we've been with Midjourney or Runway or Kling for a long time now, they just keep adding more features. And then it's like, all right, there's all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then like a new one comes out and it's so clean like this
Yep.
because they haven't had all that.
And you kind of
like,
appreciate it.
Yeah, it's like, all right,
I
that's
know,
easy now again.
dude, totally.
Yeah.
I think it's the ADHD in us and in the wider population because it's, I've always felt that way. It's like there's something magical about less sometimes. Right? Because it's easier to figure it out. You can connect the dots. It doesn't feel overwhelming. I mean, I love Midjourney. The fact that there's still so many things, though, that I either forget about or haven't used in so long just purely because I forgot about it. I mean, it's mind-blowing, right? Like, it's hard
like
to use
Canva
all of
now.
it.
You know, like Canva used to be so simple
Yeah.
and easy.
Yeah,
And now
I don't even know.
10,000 things to do in there.
Bro, I don't even know what Canva's doing now. I mean, like, I mean, from a business standpoint, it's great.
Yeah.
From a user standpoint, I agree, right? Like that was the tool we got, you know, early on for non-designers, right? Or you know, lo-fi stuff or being scrappy, small teams. You don't have a designer, you don't have budget, right? Canva, yeah, dude, you're totally right. Like, and there was something special about that.
It was easy.
Now, I can't even fathom everything that you can do in there now. I've spent some time in there recently, like in the last year or two, but not taking advantage of, or not really paying attention to like all this new AI stuff that they, like, I'm not going there for that. Right.
Yeah, because I used to use it as, you know, when I didn't want to use Photoshop or something complex, and I didn't want to like have to, before Photoshop allowed you to just point and click on a layer, you used to have to go select the layer, then move it, then select the other layer, then move it, which was annoying. So go to Canva and just like be able to move everything in one canvas quickly for things that didn't need like all the firepower of Photoshop, right? So I don't know where, you know, they've added so many things, and a lot of times people will tell me, oh yeah, Canva can do that. I'm like, what? Missed that up.
And even if they can, it's almost to the point, right, where we've talked about this. It's like the adoption. It's like, do I see myself actually changing my habit to then now start using Canva for A or B or an A, B, and C now? Like just because it can? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's it's unfortunate. A lot of these older tools that sort of like got me through life, like work life.
Yeah,
I
man.
just say afterthought. Photoshop is really becoming an afterthought now, and like Figma, I don't even know if you saw what Figma dropped recently, but
I've
Figma
just
dropped
been
a whole
hearing that
suite
they're
of
dropping
tools.
more and more, you know, and I can't keep up. I can't keep up, but
They basically integrated like Cursor into Figma, so you can do like web design and coding and development in there. Like they have a new website, like an AI website builder. Like I can just go build a website simply within Figma instead of having to utilize one of these template builds. Like if you're not a seasoned web designer, right, or someone who understands coding, web design kind of sucks because you're just at the behest of like what the template can do, and that's it.
100%.
And now you can go in there and customize it the way you want. It also has, you know,
or
a few
just like
other things.
or just like a developer on your team. Like maybe there's just one or two people. Like
Yeah,
that's happened where it's just like, I'm glad we had that, but that feels like a big bottleneck here for us.
Yeah.
Like that it's not this democratized thing that more and more people can act on. Because now you're relying on somebody else to go in and make changes to every new web page you want to add or build or wireframe you want to reconstruct and this and that and the other. And that's just not a scalable thing.
Let me actually, I'll just pull it up real quick so everyone can see it.
Yes,
I know we're off a little bit, but I know there's definitely people here that are using Figma. Like, I was just playing around with it the other day. I was like, all right, I just pulled in a bunch of different things. And if I wanted, a different footer or something, and just go and basically add. And then, navigation, they have different heroes or features that you can add. Like, oh, let's just add this. Bang. That just adds it immediately. So you have the web design here, and then it gives you the mobile design right next to it, which I like. If you want to add a page, you just go there and you can design. Each one of these is interactive and responsive. So I'm like, this is great. I can just build landing pages on here all day. Don't have to go to, don't have to go and like use these template builders on the website, things like that.
I might need a little demo on that, Rory Flynn.
Dude, I was really liking it because there's, what's the other one was it Buzz that I was using? I don't remember if it was Buzz, which is you can just make assets, right? Like you can just it's like this is their new version of Canva with AI baked in.
Yeah.
Generate templates and things like that.
That feels long overdue for them.
Yeah. Super easy. The other thing they added was this make. Let's see if I have it in the make.
Do you see Framer and Figma kind of
that's it. Like
conjoining here? Like in terms of like they're coming closer and closer together.
I just typed "give me a sneaker ad" and then it dropped this, which is basically like I wouldn't say it's an ad, but it's like a card for a website.
Yeah, hell yeah, it's a card.
That's great. I mean, the UX UI is like
perfect.
Even then gives you the additional format.
How about
right?
that?
So I was like, this is cool. And I was like, you can just type in here and it's run through Claude Sonnet, so it can code really well. It's basically like using an MCP. You can also, drop in. You can attach a design to sort of give it guidance. You can attach an image, which is essentially Framer. Just be like, here's a website that I like, put it in, like design this for me. This can also work on a few different things. So I'm loving where all this stuff is going right now. It's just becoming a playground, and I feel bad for people who are just starting because there's so much to learn and do. But they keep making these developments, and it's one after the next.
You need internal adopters that are just curious by nature in the company, and you need multiple people at the moment, right? Because most companies are not going to spend at the level that they would need to upskill their own employees, which is a whole separate other conversation. But also, to your point, these things are changing so fast. So you could hypothetically, right, bring in a trainer or this or that and the other, and that's good in that moment, right? There's a lot of value there. There will be things that will be evergreen for a while, but there will also be things that'll really perish quickly, right?
Yeah.
Because it's changed. The whole thing's changed, right? Like even just a couple weeks ago, right? It's like, Hedra is like kind of like this cool little thing that you could probably, start to adapt in. Like with VO3, you're like, I don't know.
Don't even need it.
I don't even know anymore, right? So I mean, like, for example, I'm just thinking of a client I have right now. They're doing a presentation with basically like AI generated people that will serve as like an agentic part of their software. They're going to present at their conference. They're putting it up on a screen. They want to show motion. They want to show them talking and, making movements and that sort of thing. It's like, okay, like they're already playing around with Hedra, right? And then you got VO3 drops, right? And you're just like, well, if you guys are probably trying to do like full body motion and, like get them in scenes and, like there's a pivot, right? So like you're trying to do a project like that really, truly while the car is moving, trying to paint the car while the car's moving or whatever that analogy
This is why it's tough, man. Like, cause I've been approached by a number of people for longer term projects, like bigger projects. And I'm just like, if you're working on something for more than a month or two, like basically your first month or two of work is just scrapped because you're doing it with tools that are outdated by that point. So, it just doesn't make sense. Like it's hard. You have to be able to do things quickly. Like if you can utilize the tools and get to an end result quickly, then it's fine. But if you're trying to do like
I think that's a great
feature
point.
film,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And you're
That's what
all
I'm
the way
saying.
through
Like
this.
what are you going to do? You're going to scrap halfway through,
Yeah.
and so it's just this, I don't think we've ever been at this point with technology ever like that. Like I can't, at least not off the top of my head, I can't think of a situation like that. Usually there's been these long gaps of time.
Yeah. Yeah. And we couldn't do like a podcast on Apple. Like what are we going to get every year? The iPhone will, get the launch of the iPhone colors and and the operating system and like that's it. So it's this stuff is just such little micro developments at all time. And then you get, use something like Cursor or Lovable or Framer becomes big in the zeitgeist, and then Figma's like
Zeitgeist.
I'm just gonna pull it in.
You're back on you're back on your zeitgeist bullshit.
It's very. It didn't feel like the right word until recently. Where
I love it, dude. Yeah,
all anyone talks about.
No, I know. I'm just giving you. I got to give you shit because you'll pull out like a beckon, like something every episode, but then you'll come back with something that like a zeitgeist. So
my brain just firing on early morning caffeine. We're a little earlier today than we normally are. So
that's true. That's true.
SAT words are flowing.
Yeah,
right
man.
Now. But this is the other thing that was interesting recently was, again, and I had this conversation with a few people, is just Runway, right? Like Runway is really creating a lot of useful features. And I think, some of it gets overshadowed by what's going on with VO. It's such a cheaper model to utilize. The quality, you might sacrifice a little bit in the initial output, but their references feature is excellent. And I think
Agreed.
It works really well.
Dude, I'm so glad you brought that up because I think that's something we're talking about too, right? It's that exact point of what you just mentioned of the use cases now, like they've built in different things that maybe aren't so obvious, but you're following other people that are using a reference and they've unlocked like a way that you probably didn't think of initially for this, right? And you're just like, well, shit, I didn't even think about like that. Whereas before it was a little bit more cut and dry, with kind of you knew what you could use it for in the application. But you're right, like there's now sort of like some of these gray areas where creatively it's now opened up. There are some different possibilities and use cases available with that references part of it, with the style transfer part of it, with some of those other things that they just rolled out.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, I saw Cristobal, their founder, put up like a really good image of just someone that put like a basic framework of a structure in there. It was like car here, person here, this here, and it listens. And I was like, that's awesome. I tested that. It worked very well. Just, again, giving it loose direction. I'll try to pull this one up.
Yeah, it was kind of like that feel of kind of what we were getting with ChatGPT, with the sketches or like that wireframing sort of vibe to it, right?
Yeah. So it was essentially like, this is like the full sort of representation of it, but it was just like, okay, man front view, standing, arms on child front view, sitting on stool, drawing the stool, checkered floor pattern, woman side view, standing, body facing left, head facing right. So, it's giving you all of this, which is what I want. Even the checkered floor, sitting on the stool, like the body position, when you look at it, it's all pretty much accurate. Yeah. And using these two, using this as a reference image, these two people and the child. So that to me, I was like, all right, like we can do stuff. And like even everything from the pattern on the scarf here, I'd say that's pretty well transferred. Even, the jacket, the color of the shirt, that stuff matches. Her look, the sunglasses match. His look, the sunglasses match. Didn't put the hat on him. Regardless, I'm not going to complain about that too much. Probably could have just rerun it and got it the same. But, to me, it's impressive. Like this is a really good translation from this, from this to this, right? Like that's as close to an AI character consistency as you're going to get. So, again, just really like what they've been doing and giving them their flowers in that sense, because we just wanted consistent characters for the longest time. That's it.
Yeah. Now it's all sort of. I was just gonna poke in on this a little bit because pulling up Cristobal's, X account here. So I just saw this one. Can Runway fold laundry? Seems like it can.
Wow. Okay.
So
cool.
Somebody put shirts, 5 shirts, pointed out the color and the item. Sort this and remove the basket from the shot. Let me not get lost in my browser here. And boom.
That's a good one. Not bad. 5 shirts, brown pants.
Sick.
Got it.
Sick. Let me go back because there was a bunch of really good examples here. Here's sort
This
of where we
one's
were talking
great.
about like the sketching, right? So blocking scenes,
Mm-hmm.
boom, boom. Show me the man from image 2, framed through the windshield of a car like the reference in 1.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like this is kind of what we were, alluding to. Man, maybe like really toward the beginning of this podcast was like just the way that you prompt for these things. There are just so many ways to prompt, right? Like initially it was just this, imagine you've got an empty box.
Yeah.
Now it's like, you could do stuff like this, and it's like you don't have to. This is almost like a different muscle that you're flexing, right? Entirely when you're generating this kind of stuff. Here's another interesting one, right? Where it's like, okay, take your composition sketches, have the model turn them into real images and video. So you've got this, then you get the guy, then you get this scene, right?
I think the pioneer here was Kling with that. Once I saw that, I'm like, oh, this is how everyone's gonna want to do it. It's like get this character, this environment, this object, like just mix it all together.
I was gonna say, were they the first ones that you saw that with? Was that them?
First
Was
one I
it
can
Kling?
remember. Where it's, outside of Midjourney, where with like, style references.
Yeah,
and utilizing it
yeah.
that way. But yeah.
There's so many good ones in here.
It's fairly creative. I don't know if they integrated ChatGPT into the back end of this.
I was gonna say,
ChatGPT
dude,
is.
that's what I was gonna say, right? Because like it felt like that was you're seeing a lot of this ChatGPT type of functionality.
Our boy Alar.
Yep, our boy
Nailed
Lars.
that.
So yep, here we go. Keep the car the same as image 1. Make it drive in the location for image 2.
Yeah.
That's not a hard prompt to come up with. All you're doing is taking two things, you were blending them with control, right? I think Midjourney was the first one to have a blend functionality in general, the idea of a blend. Now this is like I don't even know that I would call this a blend. Maybe like a smart, precise blend, but like that's
This is
crazy.
where I want to go.
That's crazy.
Like I want this. This is what I've always wanted. Like layers and like
There you go.
ideas. Yeah. This is the one where I was like, this is genius. It's just so easy.
Right. So you're just doing this. Here we go. You're basically blocking the composition, giving it a name.
Giving it the reference of the guy.
Boom,
and then
boom.
bang. Awesome. Like just really, really fun.
Sick.
But this is it.
Sick,
I don't
sick.
want to write paragraphs anymore.
No.
I'm sorry.
No. No, I mean,
I'm done with it.
That's what I'm saying, man. And we didn't even talk about this part. This try-on extension.
Yeah.
Which,
Good point.
Which I don't have it on my computer yet. So let me see if I can find. Do you have it on yours? If not, I'll just kind of pull it up here. But I might have to scroll back a little bit on this because I think there's an actual video that was pretty good. I'll look for it for a second here. If I can't find it, we'll just look at a static one. But when that first dropped.
Can you scroll back up for a second? Just real quick, not to go off.
Which one?
Keep going. There was one with the green couch and a bunch of stuff.
This one.
I want to see how that works.
Okay,
right.
so here, let me back out 1 second. So using an interior mood board and a flat sketch. Yeah. Okay. So please generate an interior image using the furniture styles, colors, materials shown in 1. So this may be a little bit harder to see for those of you watching. So I'll just there are elements of this. Let's just call it a living room, furniture, objects, decor. Then the second image is the layout using shapes in that wire. What are we calling this? It's a wireframe composition.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to call that, but
It's
whatever.
like an overhead floor plan in this one.
It's right. It's just like basic blocks and identifying those objects. Okay, use these furniture positions, shapes, and text labels from the floor plan in 2. And then there's some additional instruction around the wall paint color and the flooring, wood flooring as the base interior materials. Camera perspective must match the arrow direction indicated in 2. Oh, so they even threw in. Here, let me see if there's an actual photo of that. Here we go.
Okay.
Boom. So he even, smart.
It's like 3D. Yeah.
You know, because you'll see this also. You used to see this a lot with like lighting setups in photography and stuff, where they would just, you know, if someone's trying to give you like a tutorial on it or showcase it, it's like lights coming from this side or this side. This reminds me of that. Smart
I like that though for lighting. That might be a cool thing to play with.
lighting too. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be real smart because sometimes there's trouble with. I've always had trouble with getting underlight, like light coming from underneath someone in these image generators. Maybe I'm going to try that. I don't know if I've always had issues with
That would solve it. I feel pretty confidently. Not even have tried that. I feel like that would work pretty well. Given if you've got this capability, that should work. That should work.
Yeah. Let's see. Did it come? Let's see that final picture though. Did it come
Final
out?
picture.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it placed everything, which is nuts.
The window is in a different. So you've got like window here. It's not perfect, but
Table,
if you've
single
got
sofa.
some,
Close enough.
if you've got some, if you've got
Close
some
enough.
liberty, yeah,
I mean, now we're nitpicking.
for sure, for sure.
You know, now we're nitpicking for what
Well, and it's
used to
it's
be impossible.
100%, and it's also like worth reminding people of. There's two layers to this. There's the external ready for business era, and there's the external, like we're showcasing what's possible right now, but all of this is in motion
Yeah.
to then eventually be unlocked.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like we're also saying, hey, look, this may not be a perfect today, but it's going to be soon.
Yeah.
Right. Which is also the exciting part.
But also take this stuff. Like these are all concepts. You don't have to use them one to one. Like they're all like I took that car example and was like, all right, let me try it with a family portrait. And I was like, okay, this works. So it's like it doesn't have to be one to one. It only single use case. Using that like we just did with that light direction or the camera direction. Like I thought of that immediately. Like let me try that with light, right? Because that's like what else? How else can we take that sort of structure that people are providing and like adapt it to our needs? So, just got to play around with some of this stuff. And Runway is so much cheaper.
100%. And also that is one other interesting thing about this. This is a 2D thing, right?
Yeah.
If you had this in 3D, it would be much more accurate.
Totally. 100%.
Right? Because this is basically saying, okay, window, if you're in this is a square room and the window is going to be flush straight ahead at 0 degrees or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay. But if you've got a different dimensional model, I would expect that to be much better even.
No,
but
let me show you this real quick before, just to touch on that, because that's how I sort of was thinking about it in terms of depth, right?
Yeah.
So like with this one, you can see sort of how it's layered and stacked, like where I want the person behind the child and the woman behind the child, but also sort of like how the floor provides depth here. Like that was
even
my idea.
even the layering there is smart in the 2D because I don't know that I've seen a lot of layering yet.
Well, that was my intention. Just so
That's good. No, that's good, man. I'm
wanted
calling that
to-
out. I'm like, I haven't seen that.
But that's why it's like, oh, can it do that? That's kind of always where it comes back to is, can it? Yes. Cool. Now let's push it further, right? Because you could do that room in a similar fashion. You could probably just draw like little circles and be like, put this here, put this here. You just need to get the dimension of the room right that you're trying to start with. So
the thing that we got lost in because we were nerding out on that was the try-on thing.
yeah,
I can't find a video at the moment, just on the fly, but that's incredible. So it's the idea, right? Like you've got a picture of yourself. There's a Chrome extension. Again, I don't have it on my computer yet, but essentially you can take an item and virtually try it on, which I knew that technology existed because I had a friend that was kind of in that fashion space and told me about this maybe even like 2 years ago. He's like, dude, it's getting crazy out here. So I'm surprised to see a Runway, kind of like get into that. It's
probably
incredible.
an awesome lead gen tool, like to utilize it that way. And then just people are like, what's Runway?
I mean, dude, that adds a shit ton of value right there. You're going into a whole different space with something like that.
And that was Kling. Like Kling did that a while back, but they didn't go the extension route. So sometimes there's a benefit to being second on some of this stuff.
100%.
Different way.
Yeah. I mean, the friction that takes place in trying to be the first to come up with the idea, execute it, versus, you have a little bit of the playbook.
Yeah.
Here, I mean, this is just goes without saying, right? But just talking about the references for consistent building. So you've got two things here, right? He says all these images were, or what does he say? All the images in the thread are created just by combining the first two images and asking Gen 4 to create different variations of the subject in the location that we want. Mm-hmm. Right. So same girl, just different camera angles and different focuses.
Didn't do bad on the feet there. Normally, feet to me is worse than hands.
You know what? That's a great point, man. I can't
Yeah.
even tell you the last feet I've generated.
Yeah.
Well, without shoes, right?
Without shoes, right? Feet typically to me have been so much more gnarly than hands.
Yeah. Yeah. Love the color in this too.
It's nailing that color. I was waiting to see if that yellow would translate, and it did across a few different images. So there's Runway stuff. I think people just start to sleep on Runway. Candidly, the quality is not on a VO3 level or a Kling 2.0 level, but sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes you just need something fun like this, and Runway can do that. I think Runway's great, and
Same. I mean, yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. It's got faults. It's not perfect, but I think now, kind of going back to how we started this conversation with Runway, now it's not so cut and dry in terms of the capabilities. There's a lot more exploratory things and use cases that are now available, and some of which, don't require all the variables that maybe something like a VO3 would, even though VO3 does that stuff really well. So they may have, at least for the time being, both really good defined spaces within your workflow and your tools, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't see that if he put that up there. Is that open and available for API yet? I would love to sort of play with that a little bit more.
Ooh, I don't know.
Certain spaces, new tools coming up that you can bring this stuff into and use all of it. But I'm finding myself more intrigued by references than I am with, let's say, ChatGPT at this point. ChatGPT, I think we've started to sort of unlock the faults. I think that's one of the, with the image generator now that within Sora and in chat windows. You've seen those videos of the people that are like, oh, give me the same image like again and again and again.
I was telling you this. Remember the rock example?
Yeah. It's like that's true though. It does happen.
It's true.
So.
It's I tried something. This too. So I'm just calling that out for people listening. But you do get better consistency if you're turning it into JSON code, and you're saying, hey, look, I want to create more versions of this, and I mean this in the terms of like that could be your subject, that could be the style of the character. And whatever, and then really have it break down. Like, maybe this is worth sharing. I don't want to go too off with this, but here, let's jump in here. Dun, dun, dun. And then let's go. Where's this? Now I got to find this.
That's going to be the hardest part.
I think it's under tummy ache relief tips for my daughter. Okay, so let me scroll. This was actually part of a longer thing, but there was like this really cool example, and then I wanted to. I saw this somewhere, and I want to say who posted this.
Was it Lar?
No,
might have been Lar. I saw him do something similar.
It was. I think it was Free Pick.
Okay,
I think it was Free Pick's account, but like. These were animations. So this is just like I took a screenshot of this. And I was like, oh, I like that, like just that character style, right? So then it's like, okay, using the same, I want to generate a new image referencing the attached photo. Okay, I started there. So I wanted to see how that worked. Then it was just like, okay, I want to, add more and more detail, but I want to like create this same stylized look. So I had it create sort of like that JSON code template for me. That way I could just change these things out. Right. And so it was like this stylized 3D. The pose was a bust, right? Because I'm not doing anything below the neck, but it breaks out all the variables that you can then change. Right. So then it was like, okay, cool. Like, because all I had to do here is like change the background color. I wanted a different hairstyle. I wanted it, I wanted the tattoo still, I wanted the female, blah, blah, blah. But I made all those changes here. And then like kind of kept going down this path. And getting into like animals, right? And then I'm like, okay, cool, got this. then I want to come up with like fun. This is where like the ChatGPT stuff is really interesting because it's like you can ideate right here too. And so then it was like, oh, okay, like let me think of like different animals, showcasing some sort of like, funny or clever kind of thing, right? And so it was like, okay, goat with like a crown, blah, blah, blah. And then I got into this part where it was like dogs. I'm like, okay, like dogs kind of have their own personalities by breed, right?
Yeah.
So like, let me like break this down. And this is where I use ChatGPT to like really think about all the different dog types and maybe like what their profession would be or what their personality would be in like a human, level.
Translation.
So like this bulldog, almost like looking like a little bit of like a gangster or whatever. So then I had it like really go into stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like Rottweiler Club Security, Chihuahua, LA Hype Beast, Poodle, Runway Icon, And so like it started to give me some of those variables that then I could plug in. But then I could take these and say, okay, using the JSON code, right, change these variables out. So then I had it generate these at scale for me, right? So I didn't have to go in and manually change these every time. I could just copy paste the whole list of the dogs that I wanted to run, right? And so then it started to get much easier to do. So I'll just kind of like scroll through these so you kind of see.
Oh, see, because that's awesome.
Right, like these are cool, and like these would be great to animate. It's just like I haven't had time, but like these were super cool, and it's like okay, it's very consistent, it's tight
branding. This is if you want to go a certain route with this, yeah,
right.
Like
and so like that, don't sleep on that JSON component, because that I think is the troubling part of like the ChatGPT is just like you're gonna go nuts trying to keep everything the same without having some sort of like binary aspect via code. And that obviously seems like that's one of the bigger unlocks with ChatGPT specifically in this. But
also low key token mining from that JSON code. There's some good stuff in there. I saw there's like matte lux finish. Like there's some interesting things.
Yeah.
In the
this like smooth plastic matte finish, ultra high resolution.
Like there was some good stuff from some of the stuff above. I was like, huh, all right. Like this is you could just have a whole. It's like,
and these were one-shotted, right? Like, so it's like if you really wanted to refine these or make like I wasn't going too back and forth with like tweaks or anything like that. I was more interested to see the success rate and the hit rate,
No,
and it's pretty dope.
Yeah, I like again the concept. I can see that and take it and translate it. Like if you're doing a branded icon set, like I like to do those every once in a while. It's probably use the same exact thing, right? This was
awesome. That was fun, dude. I mean, and so I think that was sort of the interesting thing with ChatGPT. It's like the JSON part of it I think is worth exploring if you haven't already. Rory, you and I have talked about that a lot, but I think that's one of the bigger things that you can do. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on that before we get into Midjourney specific? Because I know we want to provide just like office hour updates and maybe provide an update on the video part of that.
Let's just go right into the updates. I think, Midjourney's been in somewhat of I don't want to say a lull period since OmniRough, but it's been like 2 weeks. Since they dropped, like 3 weeks since they dropped it. So, something's coming up soon, but I think it's good to go.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's been, I think it has been 2 weeks. And so I'll run through these really quickly again. Stop me where you want. Faster version of V7 planned to roll out next week. So that'll be next week.
Check. Cool.
Cool. Love that. Potential minor update with the 7.1, but they're saying that they're likely jumping directly to V8. There's an emphasis on finalizing key personalization and aesthetic settings. New SREF planned, so an improved version is nearing release with a significant style transfer enhancement expected.
So does that mean style weight? Like that means that,
or maybe that reskinning, retexture, even better. I don't know.
That would be a nice. I guess again, then we're saying we don't want more busyness, and then we're also like, yeah, that'd be cool,
right? Yeah, I think that's what we're saying. I think that's what everybody's saying.
Yeah, right.
Initial launch won't include SREF random. Boohoo.
Okay.
Damn.
Haven't run one of those in a while.
I have. I've been running them again. Cool. Yeah.
Get back into it.
And there's some good ones with these. You can just tell they look a little bit more crisp,
more
with that
more
enhanced quality. Yeah. Let's see what else. Okay, so here's what we're getting at, right? This conversation. This episode's really been about video. No surprise then that video is like now seeming to come up more and more here with Midjourney again. Internal testing by guides and mods beginning end of month. So we're shooting this the 23rd. So there's a week left. I mean, so that's coming. You've got 2 video generation methods that they're talking about, text to video and image to video being optimized, multiple quality and pricing tiers planned. So I think their goal here is to make sure that everybody's got accessibility to it. They don't want to price people out of the video component.
Yeah.
Video quality described as promising with distinctive aesthetic and excellent motion. And a full launch is contingent on upcoming server infrastructure upgrades, which are expected within roughly 45 days.
Yeah.
So, probably at least 2 months away from like a full rollout, but I don't know if that infrastructure upgrade is a blocker to launch though.
Yeah, again, I take this with a grain of salt. Like I'm not expecting to see this until later in the year. They say 2 months, but I'm just guessing based on where everything's at. They'll probably put resources back into.
And then how fast are you going to iterate on it once it's out? Because then you're in this game, right?
Yeah.
Then you're in the game of
video,
Runway, VO, Kling. You're going to have to. You can't just sit around at that point. You're going to have a pretty good velocity at that point.
I think they need a differentiator, right?
They absolutely need a differentiator, 100%.
And it's not like the video generator's differentiator. I think it's being able to like utilize Midjourney for the video, like being more creative with it, not so like linear and sort of like rules based. Like the camera moves this way, and like you have to do it this way. Like I want to use like click style reference, and then like something like that. Or
there you go, Rory. Yeah, I like that.
Pan left or pan right. Like not. I'm talking about like the idea of it, not like the actual motion of pan left, like something like that, where it's like they've always had a little bit of a different way of going about it. Stylize, chaos, weird.
Yeah.
The way that everything's sort of like they think and dream things up. Like I would love for them to be a little bit different in that sense, so it could be fun. Like I like the ingredients feature,
personalization. That's still
personalization. Like shit like that. I don't know how long that'll take to develop, but I'm looking for like one of those like X factor features from them. It's all
I think first impressions here have to be great. They have to nail that first impression. So there needs to be really strategic play around when this comes out and it being right at the top at that very moment in time when they release it. So it has to be that, I think.
It has to be easy.
That too. But like my thought there is if you turn people off right away, they're not going to come back and they're not going to come back and do that. I think there are a lot of people though, right? There are a lot of people that are using Midjourney images as the static to then take into the motion with these other tools. So you've got an opportunity here. I think they have to nail it with the capabilities and then, right, like that speed of iteration and continuous updates. And then lastly, to your point, it's the differentiator. And I thought the way that you described is perfect, right? Like just be who you guys have been. Like you're going to have something that no one else has. You're going to do it in some other way that doesn't exist across another platform. That's it. Those three things, I think. Yeah. We're not asking for much.
No, I mean, it's just it's just like the little extra spice that they've always brought to it. Not saying that needs to be in functionality, just like style reference. Like we didn't know we needed that until we started playing around with the tool, and then they gave it to us, and it was like, to me, revolutionary, because that was just so different than what every other model was able to provide. And I'm looking forward. I know they will do something like that. I just want, I think they should also take the sort of runway model, and if they're going to do this like they've done with V7, which is just like release text to video first, let everyone learn it, then go image to video, then go the extra features, keyframes, then go whatever else you want to do. Like, I think that should be sort of like the way that they approach it, instead of like, here's all this crap. Learn it.
Yeah.
Like exactly. Sora. Like, here's all these things you don't know about.
That's a really great point. I think there's going to have to be a real focus on that too.
Yeah.
More than they've had, right? Like they don't typically do really big explainers. They've done some little 1 or 2 minute clips on a new feature here and there, but I think you're right. There's got to be that.
It should be. Make it easier for everyone. Like, again, you said you have one shot at this, really, with people. They're not going to, like, just with the other tools that are available and, like, how complex they are now at this point. Yeah, there's got to be some level of simplicity or magic, right? Like, the magic.
I think that magic really is the differentiator.
Yeah.
Really is.
Yeah, 100%. And still can't get anything that's, Midjourney imagination quality on any other tool. So
very true.
Until a later time, I will not be abandoning them because
yeah, man.
There is no other tool that has that magic. And even with these more super coherent models, I said this like 70 times, but I just don't want to control everything anymore. Like I don't want to prompt that much.
Yeah.
It's too much thought and too much frustration. Like I just want to be able to go in there.
Speed matters, quality matters.
Yeah.
Taste matters.
And sometimes I want new ideas. Like I want Midjourney to spit out 30% of what I didn't prompt for.
Of course.
Yeah,
dude,
so
I think that to me is just a very like I'm surprised more people haven't uncovered that.
Yeah, it's an artist
part
mentality.
of it. Yeah, because we don't always we don't always know what we want. You could like
default.
Same if you have like customers and you're building products, like you have a pretty good idea as to some of the things they need, but sometimes they don't know what they don't need or what they need. So there's that level of like, oh yeah, right, like this does make sense. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Like text and images. We didn't know we really wanted it, and then ChatGPT comes out with it. We're like, okay, maybe we wanted it.
Yeah,
maybe we wanted that. I don't
100%.
know, but I think it's just exactly. I'm not going to go too much deeper.
So we'll see what happens, right? We still got plenty of time to talk about it. We'll see. There are a couple other notes here. We'll just finish up with. They're planning some UI improvements for pro users, particularly targeting higher resolution monitors, 4K monitors. Evaluating batch processing features for premium tiers. We haven't seen that batch 8 yet. Remember that was talked about? That got deprioritized. Enterprise and API considerations. I've seen that come up a lot lately. So it looks like they're finally testing that. And then I think they're going to do, it sounds like they're going to do a survey too to maybe gauge that interest, but got to
do it. God damn it.
So just do it. Yeah. So near-term priority. Okay, here are the priorities. We'll just kind of recap this and then we'll wrap this baby. So immediate focus, releasing faster V7, improved SREF, multi-subject referencing features. Yeah, don't forget about that, right?
Which one?
Multi-subject referencing features. So multi-omni ref, right? Like, yeah, good. That's coming. Multiple objects. So then you got subsequent priorities would be launching video model, server upgrade, refining user personalization tools. Long-term dev, exploring voice modes, advanced UI features, and broader creative tools, which would be your software, hardware things, secret projects that we don't know about.
I don't want to hear about a secret project anymore until I see it.
Same.
It's like your friend keeps coming over and it's like, I have a secret to tell you. And you're like, what is it? They're like, I'll tell you later.
Yeah.
For like 2 years.
Yeah.
But it's like, whatever. I know this is a secret.
Just don't even tell me. Just let it be a secret.
But dude, it's still like really amped about what's coming because I feel good about this dev schedule that feels like there's something coming at all times and not just like that V6 lull where it's like, when are we getting V7? It
kind of felt like the back half of last year just kind of felt like it dragged on a little bit.
Dragged. Now it feels like they're on a little bit of a tighter ship, and I'm appreciative of it.
Yeah,
it's good for us. Like we need to be
go Midjourney go. We do love you guys. I mean, the product's awesome. Obviously, we do this podcast primarily based on Midjourney, so we do feel very strongly about it. But it's exciting to see all this stuff kind of to happen and continue to compound, man. I mean, we're living in wild times here.
Who knows what's next? I don't know. We'll see. It's all chaos, people. I get that question so much. Like, where do you see this in 6 months? I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't have the answer. I can't predict it because it's too crazy. Yeah. And then companies are really smart, man. They're just getting better. They're getting better at understanding what to do, how to launch things, what people want. Like there's more mass opinion out there. There's more data, data to pull from. So we're moving, baby.
My
We're
man,
moving.
dude, it was good to catch up. I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
God, felt long overdue. We've been, we had to take a couple like 2-week breaks here because we had a bunch of stuff going on. But man, this is a good
We're
one.
back.
It's a good one, guys. So, I mean, like we covered a lot. Thanks for joining us. We'll have something fresh for you guys on the next one. And Rory, you got anything to say? Wrap up.
Like and sub or comment. You guys are awesome last video too, commenting, dropping a bunch of stuff in there. Again, tell your wife, tell your mom, tell your friends, come hang out. It's a good place for us all to have a therapy session. So
Global community.
yes, sir. And thank you very much with that.
All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
See ya.